Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to yet another inspiring and informative episode of ECellVIT's official podcast, Ruminate. My name is MS Mihir, and I will be your host for the day. It is my earnest pleasure to welcome our guest for today's podcast, Mr. Parang Mehta. Mr. Mehta is an experienced professional, an entrepreneur, and a financial literate. Mr. Mehta brings with him his vast knowledge and diverse experience, which he shall be sharing with us through this podcast. Throughout this video, various aspects of entrepreneurship and financial literacy shall be discussed, which might as well prove to be eye-openers to many neo professionals. So do stay with us till the end. And without further ado, let us begin. Good evening, sir. And for our first question, so please do tell us about your profile and also the company you're currently working in.
Okay, everyone, hello. I am Parang. So I currently work with Havenspire. So I'm the director and the chief product officer. We're India's largest trading community, and we educate people about the stock markets and the financial markets in terms of trading, investing, cryptocurrencies, essentially how people can be financially free. And our mission is to make as many people and impact as many lives to actually make them financially independent and understand the stock market and the entire financial markets in a very correct way, I would say, because a lot of people kind of get into it and then they face problems, they face losses, and essentially just guiding all of them to be financially independent and create a passive source of income for themselves. So that is what we do. And I have been the chief product officer since the last 1 year. And I joined this company, and this is founded by Ritvik and Akash, who are ex-VITians. They are your alumni. So I started as a student in this community in the pandemic in 2020. And then, we worked together, and then we built this community together. So that's about what we do at Havenspire.
That's great to hear, sir. And I must say, all the viewers of this podcast, especially VIT students, including myself, are really inspired to listen that it was founded by our very own seniors or super seniors rather. That was great to know, sir. So secondly, sir, how would you emphasize on the importance of being financially literate in order to stay competent in the ever evolving finance and business markets?
See, when you talk about financial literacy, I think the meaning of financial literacy is interpreted differently by different kind of people. Some people think that being financially literate is just to know how UPI works, how NEFT works, and how do you operate a bank account, how do you open a bank account. So that is one definition of financial literacy which people have. The other definition, which in my opinion, and I would say in my company's opinion about financial literacy, is to understand where your money is coming from, how do you utilize that money in the best way, how do you budget properly, how do you save properly, and how do you account for the financial goals that you're going to have, right? So financial literacy means to understand money in the best way possible, or I would say understand money completely, not only the debits or the expenses part, and not only like the savings or investing, all of that, but actually to understand finance in a very mature way in which you know what you're doing. That's number one. And number two is, since everyone around us is working for money, okay, so no matter if you deny this fact or you say, oh, money is not important, shut up. Money is the most important thing. And when we talk about money, and the reason why I'm connecting financial literacy to money is, at the end of the day, everything revolves around money, and money is everyone's most precious asset, because everyone's hustling around, everyone's joining the rat race, 9 to 5, entrepreneurship, anything that you do is probably for money, right? Now, if you don't know how to manage this money properly, you are essentially just harming yourself, because you can be smarter with your money. And that is what financial literacy gets to you, because that is what it brings to you, or it basically skills you in the ways you can manage your money better, whatever amount of money that you're having, so that you save it better, you spend it judiciously, you spend it on things that are required, and then at the same time you plan for your future And all of this, I think, is a very broad definition of financial literacy for me. So the question that you asked is how important that is. I think that is something which every person, no matter what background they come from, it's very, very important. Because see, you can be very smart, you can go to the best college in the world, you can be the most genius person in the world, but if you are not managing your money well, you are one step back to everyone else who is managing money better, even if they're less intellectually superior than you. So I think it's the need of this hour, and this pandemic, the last I think 18 months, or I would say 18 months or so, they have showed people that no matter how settled you are, one pandemic can actually shake you, your job, your finances. If you don't have an emergency fund, how big problems it can create. And I think we all are very privileged to not having to face those difficulties which I think other people in our country faced, and I think they learned the hard way. So I think we as students, and we as the Gen Z or the millennials, we can understand this in a mature way without suffering from it. And I think pandemic is a very great example in which I don't need to explain how important financial literacy has become after the pandemic or post the pandemic. So yeah, that would be my answer for that.
I think that was very elaborately explained, and I mean, I completely agree, sir. It is time, especially in the new normal, like you too emphasized. It's not the same anymore as it probably was 18 months ago. Whether it was right or wrong, it didn't matter then, but it matters now more than ever. But the same question back to you, sir. What led you to go beyond a basic UPI and NEFT? What is it that led you to develop an interest in learning deep finance, or actually becoming financially literate in your own definition?
So I think for me, I'm a core finance guy. So I think in my 11th and 12th standard, I took commerce. So I think that's where the first spark began, that, okay, there is something called money, which eventually everyone will run after. So let me start running after it since my 11th grade. So that was the first spark. And then I actually gradually developed my interest into the stock markets and into the financial markets. So now when you are interested in that side of the markets or that side of the business, I would say, you automatically understand all of this. Then things are beyond UPI, NFT, and all of those things, right? So for me, it was that my passion was into the financial markets, and hence I was very keen to explore. So what led me to kind of deep dive into finance and the world of finance is a lot of people that I actually looked up to. So I was reading a book. So this was by Ray Dalio, Principles, his book was, and I think this is the first book that I read. Now, this book was all about life principles, but then I understood who wrote that book. This guy was the world's most successful hedge fund managers, and he is a billionaire. So then I understood that, okay, this guy is has made a lot of money, so let me explore more about this guy. So when I read more about Ray Dalio, this is my 12th standard, and that's how I developed a lot of keen interest. And I did my BBA and MBA in finance. I did my CFA along with FMVA. So I did all possible financial certifications. And that actually led me to deep dive into finance in such a way that it's such a broad field. And I was always a person who wanted to do something of my own. And I think finance is a field where your skills can actually speak for themselves, and you don't really necessarily, you are confined to a very small a plethora of activities as a professional that you can do. So that was the driving force. And then in my 12th, I think my first year of college, I think just like a lot of your podcast listeners, I came across this app called Zerodha. Okay, and that took my money for the next 4 years. So that was basically all my debits. And Zerodha, I made Zerodha very rich, I would say, and I was just kept losing money. So as I was losing a lot of money, I got more interest into finance. And since you lose money, you get insecure about a lot of things, and then financial planning becomes all the more important. So for me, I learned it the hard way, and my interest got developed not because of how fruitful it will be for me, but I think it was the need of the hour for me. So I think that's how I kind of got into this, and beyond this UPI or NEFT or the basics of finance.
Right,
so, yeah.
sir. And how adding on to that, how would you say that this interest and the need which made you deep dive into finance, how do you think this decision of yours has had an impact in terms of your career and your career growth?
My life is completely changed. So when I started my college, I was just thinking, okay, so since I'm from a finance background, I know majority of your listeners are from engineering background. So for you guys, you might be wanting to work with the best engineering companies, or best IT companies for that matter, or chemical companies or automobile companies. For me, I wanted to work for, say, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. So my first 2 years, I was like, I want to work with a very good, very big investment bank. Now, as I was, doing my BPA, at that time I was not deep, very, very, concerned, or I would say interested into finance. I was just interested and passionate about business as a whole. So when I was understanding these businesses, I understood one thing, that the most important thing for any business, any startup, is always finance, right? So that's where I started to get into, this very, very skewed interest into finance. And I understood that, okay, I was already interested in stock markets. I was already trading. So I was like, let's explore more on what are the other things in finance. And finance must not be confined only to stock markets. There must be a lot of other things. Then my education path that I choose. So earlier it was to just kind of do some marketing, do the basic, go into management consultancy, or just try to go as a corporate finance guy. So for people who are into the finance background, this is basically your go-to things. You go into a corporate finance thing, or you go into marketing, go into strategy, and you will just get a manager, kind of a job profile, and then you can climb your ladder beyond that. But for me, it was always that I wanted to go very deep into finance, and I wanted to understand each and everything. And another reason why I did that is I was losing a lot of money every single month. So that made me kind of deep dive into finance more, because I was like, I want to know this shit. Like, I can't lose money like this. And when I started that I wanted to get into finance, stock markets was like my thing. And if this is making me lose money and this is my passion, then what else will I do in life? So that moment, that thing really changed my life, because I thought I was underprepared to kind of get into finance. And this is my advice for any field that you're getting into, or anything that you're passionate into. Either go all in or just go home, right? It's that simple, right? So when I got into finance, I was like, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know a little bit of this, I know a little bit of this. So I was like, jack of all, king of none. And then I realized this is not how it works. So then I realized, okay, CFA is like the gold standard in finance. So if I have to get in finance, I have to do it. So I never even researched what CFA is all about. I was like, smart people do it, and if I have to become smart, I have to do it. So that's how I did CFA. So then gradually in 5 years, I developed keen interest in finance. And that was the moment where I understood that how important finance is, not only for me as a finance student, but in general, how people don't know anything about finance when it comes to investments, when it comes to savings. And everywhere I was reading successful people, they are very good money managers. So that's how kind of my interest in finance developed. And then my entire career path, like from very job oriented to being, all the more, dedicated and focused into the stock markets, creating a living out of it. All of that, like the entire I would say focus completely changed after I realized the potential. So I think if I want to confine this into one thing, is I just focused on my passion, and I just kind of deep dived into it. And then a very niche, I would say career path, which is trading, it just happened. And then I just kept focusing on it. So yeah, that was how I got into it.
Right, sir. But I'm sure there have been various moments in your career as well, which demanded timing, because timing is everything, be it entrepreneurship or finance. It's not just when you put in the money, it's the decision to put in also that has to be made on time. So to what length would you agree with this statement that timing is everything, sir?
So I think it's a very good question. Timing is very important. And so to put things into perspective, right, you might have the right timing for everything. But in trading, we say entry and exit. There are two things when you get into a trade, you do two things. You enter a trade and you exit a trade. Now, if your entry is right, for example, the timing is right, the timing of your exit and when you get out of that thing is also that that much important, right? So I think timing is something that accelerates your progress in whatever you're doing. For example, if someone got into trading in 2020, that person has seen the biggest bull markets that he would probably ever witness in the next 10 years, because the market was really at its rock bottom, right? So now when you get into these things, you see quick results, you see a lot of progress very, very fast, right? So in that perspective, timing is essentially very critical, right? Because you're getting into the right thing at the right time. And now this is where even lesser efforts but concentrated efforts can actually bring about a lot of change. Now, for example, I've been trading since 2014, right? And today is 2021. Now, if a person started trading in 2020, which was the perfect time for them to kind of get into the markets because the risk side was very low, even if you want to get into investing, now their, I would say, learning curve was much faster, because markets were, I would say, if I take example of the markets, they were developing very fast. Things were happening very quick. Markets were going up very quick. So your learning curve actually accelerates a lot. So in that perspective, I would say timing is very, very important, because if you are entering a field of stock markets, for example, way back in 2018 and 2017, when the market was doing nothing, you would just actually get bored and come out of it. That there's nothing in the market doesn't even move. So if I talk about timing, yes, it is very, very important on whatever things you do. But again, one thing you get into your head, you can never time anything in your life. Your whatever you are going to get, it's going to be defined either by your destiny, if you believe in that, or just think it's it's a matter of chance, right? So if a lot of people got into cryptocurrency trading, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of that before this big, a spike that happened in both the cryptocurrency markets and the stock markets, yes, your timing was right. But again, how do you utilize if you are at the right spot at the right time? You need to be planning for it, right? For example, if today someone, keeps me in a spot where I am in a very good place at the very right time, but I don't know what to do. For example, if I start creating a blockchain, or say a cryptocurrency or an NFT of my own, now I'm at the right place at the right time, but do I know the next steps to kind of utilize this completely? That is something that you have to work on. So if I answer your question, timing is very, very important. But again, is it in your control? The answer is no, right? I cannot put myself into a best place at the best time, at the perfect timing, with my choice. It's just, if I am landed into that position, how will I react to those things? How will I what was going to be my mindset? So yes, I would say timing is very, very crucial. And one more thing adding to it, a lot of people got breaks in their education. For example, in 2020, a lot of you, I think, have been studying from home, right? A lot of young students, they did not even give their 11th and 12th, and they just got passed, right? Now this timing is bad also, because you are actually essentially, the timing of this pandemic for you was that you were separated from your education, or say whatever you're doing, the flow got broken, right? Now that could also be very, very detrimental, and you might completely have changed your mind on what you want to do now vis-a-vis what you wanted to do 1 year back. So yes, timing is very critical, both in a positive and a negative way. And one thing that I would say is you can't really control, or you don't have a choice. If you are in the right place at the right time, just have a plan for those things so that you can utilize it in the best way.
Right. So I think you can have the right time, but it's also about the right attitude.
Exactly.
The way. So considering that, so what according to you would be an ideal roadmap for any individual aspiring to traverse a path like you have, a path that is similar to yours?
Okay, so now it depends. Now, for example, if I talk about students who are in engineering, right? Now, for people who are in finance, the answer is pretty simple. Right? If you are into a BBA, if you're doing BBA, if you're doing something into the commerce field, so I'll just divide my answer into two categories: for commerce people and for non-commerce people. Now, if I talk about the commerce people, the easy part is, if you are interested in finance, you can just understand one thing, that finance is a very wide field. Okay, stock markets, for example, is only one part of the pie. There is something called investment banking. There is something called chartered accountancy. You can do chartered accountants. You can do company secretary. You can do CFA, right? You can be a FRM, which is a financial risk manager. You can do your MS in finance. You can do your masters in finance. And when I talk about finance, it's not only about say balance sheets or understanding financial statements. It could be advising about cash flows, and there are a hell lot of things in finance. So
Right.
don't think that finance is a very concentrated field. Finance is a very broad field in itself. So for people who are in commerce, you just need to study and take your electives around finance, and slowly you will automatically understand what is that thing which interests you the most, right? I don't want to get into deep technical terms of what in this finance. I don't think that's important. But for commerce students, once you get into this path, when you start doing your masters in finance, or once you start taking your electives or your subjects in finance, you will automatically get a taste of what you like and what you dislike, right? So that is how you can traverse. And then I think towards your masters, or I would say towards your third or fourth year, penultimate year, is where you will get a good understanding on what exactly do you like. And I would highly recommend you to do internships all the time, because even I did internships in a lot of places, which actually got me deep interest into what I am doing today. So if I would not have had that, physical experience, I would say hands-on experience on, okay, how is this done? Because in books, everything is virtual, right? You are just imagining things on what you do. For example, you engineers, I don't think people who take chemical engineering actually land up being chemical engineers, right? So I have a lot of VIT people around me, and I've seen what they choose and what they actually do is actually very different, right? So, and that's probably because you don't really get that exposure. So the simple answer to to commerce people is just take finance and just explore the path and choose one niche, do your internship, get your work experience, and then there are a variety of degrees that you can do which are specialized into your experience set, and you can just take it forward from there because you already have the background. Now talking about non-commerce people, now for you it's very tricky. You guys have been into the science background, and it becomes very difficult, and I think it's a roadblock also for a lot of people, that finance must be very complicated. I've done engineering all my life, so how do I transition into this finance? And there is this thing about this finance field, okay? So we try to be very stylish in terms of putting jargons, okay? And those jargons are nothing but very easy terms, just trying to sound cool. Okay, so I'll be very straightforward here. Okay, they're very simple terms, and engineering, I would say, is 10 times more difficult than whatever I've done in finance. Okay, so from a doable part, you can easily do it, because if you're doing engineering, you can definitely do it. Now the question becomes, when should we do in our career path? Because we have a 3-4 year course, whatever your course design may be. Now, at what point do I get into finance? So I would recommend you only in your final year or penultimate year is when you start thinking if you want to do finance also as side by side thing, or if you want to actually change your career path from engineering to finance, which is also okay. A lot of people do it. Now when it comes to this, you should be actually doing some crash courses on getting the fundamentals of finance right. First is that you can do it on Udemy, you can do it on YouTube, you can do it on Khan Academy, you can do it at any place, and this can be binge watched also. It's very simple stuff, but this is like an icebreaker for you to just understand that finance is easy. It's just there are some terms which people make, basically people make it complicated by just sounding complicated, but it is not. So once that ice breaking is done, you will get confident that, okay, I can get into it. Now, the second part is you don't want to go deep into finance like a profession, but you want to get into the stock markets, or you want to get into, say, cryptocurrencies, and you want to kind of jump on the ride. And you basically want that, okay, I want to create some passive source of income. So I want to get into finance. For that, you should invest in your education, and you should do a course which could be around trading, which could be around investing, which will help you from scratch explaining what exactly is finance all about. So in that route, you will only understand what you need to know. So you don't need to understand the other rubbish finance crap which does not matter, right? You just understand, okay, this is what matters to me as a person, and that is what I'm going to be studying. Now, for people who want to make a career in finance, and in our community, there are a lot of VIT people. So they come up to me, and they're like, now we want to transition into core finance after engineering, and we don't really want to pursue engineering now, and they are in their third year or fourth year now. So what I tell them is there are two courses that they can do. One is FMVA, which is offered by Corporate Finance Institute. Now this is a very basic it starts from the very basics and then trains you everything that you need to know about finance. So I think that's a very good way, and it's a distance learning diploma of sorts which you can do while you're studying, while your college is going on. So once you do that, you kind of get into finance, you put your steps into the water, and then you explore this, and then after you are interested, then you can do your masters in finance. I think that's the best combination for you engineers, for people who are into engineering. Do your engineering, get some work experience, do these courses which just kind of get you into this finance field, and then do your masters in finance. And I think that's the best way to kind of traverse your career into finance. And don't think it's complicated. It is easy. It is very doable. It is time consuming. It is going to take some time, but trust me, once you know it, the amount of confidence that you will have from a personal finance point of view, that is unbeatable. So if you are slightly interested into finance, just try your hand out. If you like it, you will, get deep into it. You will love it. And I think you will thank me later for this. So yeah,
Definitely, sir.
that's my
I'm sure,
take on that.
I'm sure everyone will consider this, eh, especially after you've very clearly mentioned it's not tough, but it's just tricky. So just
Yeah,
find a knack to do it.
exactly.
So, uh, speaking on similar notes of finding the knack to do it, hectic academic schedules of different courses, different undergraduates, not just the primary and highest secondary school, but even undergraduates is now a part of the new normal as well. And amidst this, how can any aspiring student effectively manage his schedule to actually pursue his interest and also gain knowledge in financial domain? Something you did, but you were already studying this as a part of your active
Got it.
course also. But for someone who wants to study this as a passive or a secondary course, and amidst all the
So
hectic schedules, how can one do it, sir?
So I think this happened to me also. Although even though I was studying finance, but I think it happens that all your classes just happen in the morning, right? And for example, if I talk about the stock markets, like if you want to get into it, morning to evening 4 5 o'clock, you have your classes, then you don't really have time to actually try your hand out or practice. So the best answer to this is you can actually learn how to trade or how to invest by taking up any course, right? Or any other external joining a community, or for example joining a course which can help you make you understand about the markets, about finance in general, about investing, which are kind of the entry level stuff. If you want to get into finance, you don't necessarily want to get into institutional grade finance. You just want to know finance from a very informed person's perspective. So number one is you do a course, you learn it, right? Most of the courses, if you do, for example, online, they could be self-paced also. So at least you start learning, and you can do that after your classes. So even if you have a hectic schedule, just how you take out time for Netflix and other things, you can actually take out time to learn about this, right? Once you do that, now the question becomes, okay, I'm learning it, but if I don't get the time to practically apply it, I would not be able to learn it better. Now, the best answer for it is cryptocurrencies, right? Now, for example, if I talk about finance in general, now, if you learn about very basic areas of finance, that this is a bank, this is an institution, this is a that, no one wants to get into that boring loop, right? Everyone wants to do something which they can apply, and something is in the lines of cryptocurrencies or investing or trading or minting your own NFTs or something like that. Now, all of that could be done 24/7, 365 days a year. Now, this is where I would again put your timing thing into context, right? Now, if you want to learn, this is probably the best time, because the markets, not only like the stock markets, cryptos, everything is now growing so fast. And with the new metaverse thing coming in, I don't know, apparently every engineer is a gamer also, that I've experienced with my thing. So this metaverse thing is also impacting gaming a lot. So it's not only about finance, but how even as a gamer, for example, you can actually make money by using these NFTs or these blockchains, right? So there are a lot of things which are happening. So even if you have a hectic schedule, what you just need is that dedication or that commitment to learn. And whatever, right now everything is online, right? So you can take up any course, you can join any community, and you can just start learning. Just do that first step, take that first step to start. Once you start, if you are interested enough, you will find time maybe at 11, 12, maybe half an hour. And that is how you'll have to kind of manage time. And this is what even I used to do. My classes used to happen till 5:30, 6:30, 7:30. I was in a campus college. So my classes used to even happen at say 7:30 to 9 o'clock at night. What I used to do, I used to trade the US markets, because US markets start at 9 p.m., end at 3 a.m. in the morning. So I found my way out by trading the other side of the markets, which is basically the US market. So I found my way like this. You guys can find your ways like this, in the sense that you learn it, you try to apply it, and you try to take time. And weekends, you can't lie. Weekends are free for everyone, right? Even though you have an assignment, or if you have a project, you can actually give out 1.5 or 2 hours. Okay, just I'll, for all the listeners, okay, do one exercise. Go open your Instagram. There is this option on Instagram to see the usage, okay, and everyone will see 40 to 50 minutes of usage. So if you can waste your time here, you can definitely invest this time in actually learning a new skill and applying it. So finding time is no excuse for me. No schedule is as hectic that you can't even get time for say half an hour or 45 minutes. It's all about time management. So I think no matter how hectic your schedule is, if you have the desire to learn, you can take out time. And since everything is self-paced online right now, you get all the time in the world to learn, apply, and then gradually get skilled in that particular domain, whether it's finance, non-finance, or any other thing.
Right, sir. Of course. I mean, I think you've rightly said it, that it's all about managing time, and everyone has 24 hours. So it's about how you choose to utilize them. So also, sir, you briefly had ventured into entrepreneurship and also co-founded a commerce company, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And how would you describe this stint of yours?
Okay, so this is quite, I would say, this is a very big failure. And I think there's a lot of things to learn. So this is something that I started in my second year of college. So we started a beauty company. So basically what we used to do is we used to sell cosmetic products online, cosmetics products for women and men. And we used to sell all imported brands. So what all brands Nykaa has today, we were basically getting them from US back in 2016. So that was the business model. And we also had a period subscription box. So basically, for girls, we had this subscription box according to their menstrual cycle. And we used to deliver, before their cycle starts, with a lot of curation about different goodies, like say chocolates, or they have cramps, so we'll give them green tea. And it's a very thoughtful, curated product, which works on a subscription basis. Now, the important thing to kind of notice here is the date, or the year is 2016. And we were brave enough to not use cash on delivery. And that was the main reason. I think our business, we could not get enough business, because cash on delivery, right now you have UPI, right now you have all the online payments in the world, you have credit cards, everything is there. But in 2016, we did not have that. And the reason we did not do cash on delivery is because if you ever start an e-commerce business, cash on delivery is the worst thing for a business, because we get money after 45 days, right? So it spoils the cash flow cycle that is there. And because of that, we basically did not do that. And that venture, we actually overestimated, or I would say underestimated how much shipping, logistics, operations would actually cost. And we actually focused a lot on marketing of the product and overspent on marketing, did not manage inventory well. So all the people out here who are thinking of starting their own business, do not make this mistake. Managing, if you are into a business which has inventory as a part of this business model, inventory management will be the key to your success. Number two is, we were an e-commerce company, so we were shipping a lot of orders. So I am from Jodhpur in Rajasthan. So we had our headquarters over there. So headquarters is again a fancy word. We just had a small office over there. And all our orders are actually coming from South India, Kerala, Karnataka, Ernakulam, like all of these places. And we calculated that, okay, average price of shipping a box will be 40 rupees. If orders will come from Delhi, Jaipur, north places in the north. Now, this is again a learning. We assumed that these are metropolitan cities, so we'll get orders from Mumbai, Delhi, Jaipur, and we estimated 40 rupees is going to be our shipping cost. 88% of orders were coming from Bangalore. The shipping cost is 120 rupees from Rajasthan to Bangalore. Okay. So essentially all our margins were gone. And we were not selling a very high product, like we were selling a 400, 500, 700 rupee product. And when this shipping cost adds up to you, and if someone returns it back, we are essentially into a loss. So what happened is we underestimated a lot of things, did not quite plan on a lot of things. And I was a second year student, so you can imagine it was just a trial and error. So we actually burned 20 lakh rupees. We were getting sales, but the business was not profitable. So again, another learning is that if your unit economics has to be positive, you cannot think that, okay, Flipkart started their business, they are not profitable, so I will also start a business, I will scale it up, I will not be profitable. This is not how it works, right? So that is another thing. We were not profitable. Like every box that we were selling, we essentially had a loss. So because of those reasons, I think in 10 months we ran out of cash, right? At the end of the day, we ran out of cash. And the last month where we had like the last 70, 80,000 rupee left to actually pay our employees, we still had around 400 lipsticks being dried up, some 800 mascaras being dried up, inventory worth 6 lakh rupees in our warehouse, completely destroyed, because cosmetics is something which you have to kind of take care of those products and they can't, basically. So inventory management was one big mistake. Underestimating the shipping cost or the operation side was a mistake. And number three, not making a business profitable, or the model was not profitable, and then just sticking to that model was another mistake. And that led to closure of that business in about 7 to 8 months. So that was a first failure that I got when it comes to entrepreneurship. And that got me a lot of lessons on how, starting a business is not a joke. And to make money and to create a brand, to create a company, how difficult it is to do it. So that was about my journey as an entrepreneur for the first time.
Right, sir. And now moving on to something that's currently happening amidst all of us, with still a restructuring foundation, if I might say, of the economy, especially of India, shaken and broken completely by the pandemic. And the financial situation, honestly, in our country is still delicate. But albeit the raging markets, like you already mentioned, and cryptocurrencies boom. So amidst all of this chaos, rather, with graphs dipping but markets rising, what advice would you give to any individual or an organization considering to invest anywhere?
So at this point, if you're considering to invest, first thing you need to understand, the party is over first. Second thing is, if you are trying to invest or trying to trade, so when it comes to investing or trading, you need to understand that right now the markets are at inflated valuations. Now, even if it's crypto, even if it's stock markets, and there is a lot of uncertainty around it. Now, my advice to people who are now trying to get into it, or just trying to think that should I get into it right now? Yes, you can, but you have to be cautious and you need to know your game, right? You need to understand what you're doing. Now, if 8 months back you were asking this question to me when Nifty was trading at, say, for example, 9,000 or 10,000, any stock you put in, every stock is available at a discount. Even if you buy garbage, that is becoming gold because the entire market is going up. So that was a different story altogether. Right now, what has happened is the markets have digested everything, even cryptocurrency markets, even the stock markets, they have digested every fact. Now what's going to happen is, the equilibrium, what we say, is now actually there, right? So if you want to now invest, there are ample opportunities to invest even now, even in cryptocurrencies, even in the stock markets. But blindly investing somewhere without knowing what it actually means, without knowing how it works, is going to be a risky decision to make. Now, if you want to be an investor, this is again a very good time. You will see a lot of growth. But when it comes to short-term people who want to just kind of, the YOLO feeling, you only live once, put your money, it's going to double and I'll take it out and I'll buy a Gucci belt, I'll do this, I'll do that. That will not work. And that YOLO or that, that approach is not going to work. The markets are risky for people like you, right? So I would just say that my advice is make a informed decision. Don't go by what your friends are saying or what any, you get a tip from somewhere or all of that. Don't get into that, all of that bullshit. Just understand If you want to get into the markets, it's a very good time even now, but only if you are informed enough to know what you are doing is right or wrong, right? So I think more than getting into the market, what's important is, are you ready to be learning about the market before getting into it? Because it's no rocket science. 90% people who get into the markets ultimately understand that if I don't understand this thing, I'm never going to manage or make money from it, right? So at the end of the day, since you all are young, and I think the listeners of the podcast will also be very young, you should understand that you have enough time to take a decision, to learn first, and then get into it. The markets are not running anywhere, and the markets are poised to grow even higher from what they are today. So there are ample opportunities, but again, this is a cautious market. This is a place which is now going to be filled with a lot of uncertainties. If you've been following the news, Indian government just announced that in the winter session of Parliament, they are looking to ban all cryptocurrencies, right? So again, this is again a new development that is coming in from the market's point of view. So yes, it's a tricky place to be in, but again, opportunities are galore. I mean, there are loads of opportunities to kind of make money, and not about making money, just parking your money in the right asset, I would say. So you have to be very cautious, and if you learn about these things, I think it's going to make your life much better.
So choose wisely is the mantra, I would say.
Yeah.
So I think we've heard quite a vast amount of knowledge that you've shared with us over the past 40 minutes. And to wind it up, I'd like to ask you one last question. A cliched question, probably something enough people have asked you, especially in the last 2 to 4 years. Traditional stocks or cryptocurrency, digital currency, sir?
Okay. Pretty tricky question. So it depends on who is investing. Okay. So now traditional stocks, I would again say that in the long run, cryptocurrencies again. So see, cryptocurrencies are something which are relatively very new, right? So the risk factor is a lot, right? So if you're investing in stocks and if you're investing in quality companies, they are not going to go bankrupt in one day, and neither are their factories and the entire business establishments going to zero. But you have seen this Squid Games cryptocurrency is going up like 7,000% and then going to zero. That level of volatility does not exist in the stock market, right? Because the stock market is essentially you're investing or trading in companies which actually exist. Okay, it's no monkey who is running with a cigarette and he's being sold for $7 million. This is not the stock market. This is crypto, right? In crypto, anything can happen, and there is a lot of volatility, right? So if you want to ask stocks or crypto, I would say from an investing point of view, you should invest in both, and majority of your allocation should still be in stocks if you really want your money to be growing at an aggressive rate, albeit being stable. Okay. When it comes to crypto, what happens is you are now not going to invest in Bitcoin. You are now not going to invest in Ethereum. You are going to find some shit coin like Shiba. You're going to find some shit coin like Dogecoin and then put your all savings into it. And that's the reason why I just tell people, don't put all of your money in crypto, right? A lot of people are very ecstatic, very excited that, okay, crypto is going to make me 5x, 10x, 15x, 20x. But you don't realize the downside that comes with it, right? So my answer to this question is going to be always choose stocks over crypto. If you want to trade, if you want to invest, yes, crypto has ample opportunities, a lot of growth. And I would say from a growth perspective, crypto will and has outpaced stocks, right? But when it comes to security of your money, security of your investments, I think stocks will always be the preferred choice for investors because you invest for long term. With crypto, you don't really know whether this Shiba Shibu, whatever bullshit, is gonna even exist after 10 years or not. You have no idea about it. And with the regulations coming in, you would not want your money to be blocked because of some regulation, and you would not want to be involved in some shady practices. So my answer to this is being a stock market guy, being someone who's been in the market since 8 years. I would say crypto is a fad. I would not say a fad. I think it's something very tangible now. It's not going to zero. It's not going anywhere else. But you need to understand that crypto is still 5 times more risky than stocks. It's going to give you 5 times more reward also, but you cannot underestimate or undermine the risk that comes with crypto investments. So I would still say 70% stocks, 30% crypto would be the ideal combination for investors out here. If you even want to do 50-50, if you are a risk taker, that works, but don't put everything in cryptocurrencies. That is not an ideal thing to do. I think you might have to face a lot of things. And like one very logical reason is if I tell you, okay, invest in Tata Motors. So you know, okay, Tata Motors is getting into electric vehicles. They own Jaguar Land Rover. They have launched a lot of new cars. You understand the business. You at least know, okay, they exist. Now, if I tell you there is this cryptocurrency called Decentraland or this XYZ, number one, you will not understand blockchain. Number two, you don't know what they do. Number three, you don't even know who has created it. And number four, you're just blindly putting money because someone else is putting money. So try to understand from a very logical point of view. Do you really want to invest in something that you don't understand? If you understand crypto, if you understand blockchain, if you understand all of these things, please go ahead and invest, because now you're not investing in speculation. You are actually investing in the technology. So my answer is 70% stocks, 30% crypto, and you should not do only crypto or only stocks. I think there should be a fine balance between both of them, and I think that's the best way forward.
Great, sir. I mean, in a nutshell, I think that solves the confusion of many young investors, I'd say, who are trying a gamble at investing, at finance. And I think this will prove to be very informative. So that's it from me, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I'm certain everyone who attended the podcast today and will view it later on will be and are motivated and better informed, especially about the various aspects of entrepreneurship, as well as, more importantly, the volatility of financial conditions in today's world. So thank you, sir. Thank you once again for your valuable time.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you so much.
Sharing your knowledgeable experiences. So this is it from me, viewers. The end of the 8th episode of Ruminate featuring Mr. Parang Mehta. Do like this podcast and drop a comment. Stay tuned for our next episode, and don't forget to hit the bell icon if you haven't, to subscribe for many more of our podcasts. Thank you.